Everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good night. We are the Melanated Council, and we stream every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I want to say 8 p.m. Central Time if I know my time zones. At work, sometimes I always have to put in the different time zones, so I'm getting kind of better at it. But there's way too many time zones in the world, and we don't have time for that. So if you are viewing us and it looks like it's live, then we are live. As always, please like, subscribe, and enjoy the show. So this month, the month of June, we've been talking about schooling, education, and we wanted to end this last Tuesday talking about pretty much like how history should be taught in schools. History has been a very controversial topic lately in the schooling system, especially public schools, um, where governors, especially the governor of Florida, has been, trying to ban certain teachings, especially in public universities. So, and people from like mothers, parents, or just I don't know, just activists have been going in and trying to ban books, ban certain teachings, and all that. So we're going to get into that. As always, if you're new to the channel, if you're new to the show, we like to start out each episode just kind of talking about each other's weekends, weeks, I don't know, notable events that has happened since last week. With me personally, I am now the proud owner of two Bluetooth speakers. Are they so cute? These are UE Wonderboom, UE like the letter U, the letter E, Wonderboom SE. I'm assuming it stands for special edition. I don't know. But usually these speakers are about like $80 a pop, just one. And Best Buy was selling these two for $100. It's gonna sound kind of silly, but when I used to work at Best Buy, like right out of college, the UE, I think it was just the UE boom at the time was a pretty new thing, but some of the workers there were able to get some for free due to some promotion. Like if you ever worked at Best Buy or knew anyone who worked at Best Buy, they always got really cheap or possibly free, normally expensive audio equipment for sure. Audio equipment was heavily discounted if you worked at Best Buy. I believe it was like 40% off. So when I worked at Best Buy that year, everybody got some kind of audio thing for Christmas. So one of my coworkers was going on and on about the UE boom. I think it was called. It was like they still have it. I think it's called the Hyper Boom now, maybe, or Mega Boom. I don't know, but it's like the thinner cylindrical one. Kind of looks like like a long kind of tube, cylindrical tube, and it looked kind of like this, but just like stretched out. Still had the plus and the minus for just the volume. Um, and I've heard great things about it throughout the year, so I finally bit the bullet and actually bought one, bought two technically, and I'm really happy about them. Hey, Chad. Yeah, no, exactly a deal. I've been wanting Bluetooth speakers for a good while now. Because sometimes I host parties and I have a pretty big patio, and sometimes you need something like some music for the outside because you can't really hear the music on the inside too well because I still live in a neighborhood, so I can't really just be blasting music like I'm a 20-year-old at a frat party. So I use them currently, like right here at my desk, just to listen to YouTube, listen to music. They're very loud, and, I was listening to them and, I brought them to, like, my living room and was just kinda vibing out in the living room listening to music, scrolling through my phone with my boyfriend, and it was fun. These are waterproof. Um, I think they float, they say, so you can really take them outdoors. Not that I really do that, but, I did want a speaker for when I eventually start working out again, to when I work out outside at the park or anything, I can have a speaker because I don't know, I feel like it's a nicer vibe than just having your headphones in. I understand, like, putting your headphones in, it kind of makes you really just zone in, but sometimes just having, like, a speaker outside is just a different kind of vibe. And they also have, like, these little hooks, which is perfect because I can hang them. Because I have hooks outside where I hang, Christmas lights for some lighting ambiance, so I can just hang them there. So and if it rains, I'm not gonna leave them outside, but if on the off chance I do leave them outside, I'm not sweating, you know? Yes, exactly. Florida proof speakers, yeah, so necessary. And they're perfect for, taking them to the beach too, or to the poolside. Can't blast music obnoxiously loud, or what are you, a concert neighbor or something? Yeah, unfortunately. I tested the sound out yesterday, and, I put them as loud as I possibly can, and I went outside to see how much I can hear, and I could still kinda hear them, with the door closed outside, but you have to come, like, really close to my front door to hear it, and I would never just have it that loud anyway, so, it works out. But yeah, I would say that's been the highlight of my week so far. What I love about them too is that you can just use one and it's great, it's powerful, or you can use two, so it's like, like more of like a surround soundish kind of vibe, So, but they don't really have much like buttons really. So you have to kind of just remember what each button does and how to sync both of them. So it's kind of annoying, but it's cool, if let's say, I don't know, I have family in town or something and my sister wants to go to the beach and listen to music, but I want to stay home. She could just take one of them and use it at the beach and or if, she's in one room and I'm in another room, she can hook up her phone to this Bluetooth to this speaker and I could hook up mine to this speaker if need be. But yeah, I don't think like they're compatible with like Google Home and stuff like that, but it's fine. Oh, shut up, phone. I didn't say shut up. Hey, how's it going? Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah. Y'all let us know how your weekend's been. Or week. Anything notable. Share some good news. But that's been pretty much my highlight. I feel like there was some oh yeah. So my boyfriend has been looking for a new job. This isn't me trying to get y'all to help. I'm just letting y'all know. And and I've been thinking he's kind of inspired me to start looking at, like my resume and just like my online portfolio, which I haven't updated since 2018. So it's kind of nice to go back and look through your stuff and to update it to make it look a little bit more modern and to also cringe deeply at what you've written 5 years ago. And yeah, but it's been fun just kind of updating everything, making things sound better, reflecting on what you've actually done at your job. My sister, she used to work in HR for years, and she'd always tell me that you need to update your resume consistently, you know, especially if you do something new. If you do something new at your job, definitely update your resume. So, yeah, like it's been pretty cool. just, updating and things like that. I'm not really looking for a new job, but I have been just kind of glancing to see like what's been out there. And yeah, there's a lot out there. So, if an amazing, better position were to come about, I'm not going to say no to that. But if my job happened to counteroffer to something better, then I'd probably just stay with my job because I really do like the company that I work at. Regardless, sometimes I see some things out there like, ooh, wonder what life would be like in California. And then I'm also thinking, I don't know, that price though, I can't, I don't know. I'm sure California would be totally awesome. But you know who is factually totally awesome? So, coming to the stage is, I like to call him a myth because the way he talks to women is just absolutely unheard of. And not in a bad way. It's not like, "Oh my god, that's just unheard of." No, it's like, I wish more people heard this so other men would copy him. But then again, I don't really want other men to copy him because he would no longer be a myth, you know? So, I like him just the way he is because who can resist him? I am going to bring out the one, the only Toby.
I was muted.
Oh,
Okay, I was like,
okay.
hopefully this is me. Last week, I think you were starting to give an intro, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so special. And then at some point, I forget what you said, or I think Ron said something backstage, like he's blushing. And I was like, oh my god, this was for Ron, not for me. I am embarrassed, but honestly, no one knew that until I shared it right now. So I was like, let me like not claim this legend for myself because he who sits at the head of the table will get humbled, and
That's true, yeah.
he who sits at the small corner will be exalted in front of everybody. Bible, yes, that's my
Yes.
knowledge, my the number that hasn't slipped. So I appreciate the mythologizing me. Oh my gosh, no way! Oh my gosh! Not only is Diana here, Gabby, who oh my gosh. Anyway, good friend of mine.
Hey, Gabby.
We
Yeah,
hadn't talked
welcome,
since
welcome.
then, and we just caught up a few weeks ago for the first time in like literally years. So I really appreciate seeing some people here, who even though in person we've not had the chance to see each other in some time, it's wonderful to see all faces up here. Um, what's up, Chad and Rocky? Hey, let's go. The parable. Oh man, I love y'all. Y'all are too good. Um, is our other friend back there, or I'll go into my own like whatever I was into, but I don't know if we have another person to to bring on.
Um, sure. I mean, I'll introduce him as well because he came on like literally like seconds after you.
True, true, true.
Um, yeah. So, Toby, you're also gonna have to help me with this. We're gonna have to
Tag
tag
team.
team this
Okay.
right now. So I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say a sentence. Then you say a sentence.
What? Oh, this is like improv.
Yes, exactly. I mean, improv is harder. We would have to be saying the exact same thing at the exact same time, and neither of us would even know what we're talking about. And yes,
Really?
I
Okay.
believe that is something that I've done. I've definitely seen it performed. I can't remember if I've actually had to do that. I have, yeah. It's funny. Anyway, we don't have to do that. So, as you all know, if you're familiar with what's it called, process of elimination, then you probably know who is coming onto the stage next.
Ron. Okay.
That's
I didn't know we were gonna
yeah,
say the name so
okay.
early. I was like, wait, are we? We're just
Uh,
we put the climax first, and then
so,
yes.
this Ron, who is Ron, I don't need to put in quotes, trying to make it more mysterious as if we don't know. So, this man is the hardest working man I have ever known.
He is quite literally or figuratively a jack of all trades. Anything that you've seen, this man has done it before.
This man, like what Toby said, is a jack of all trades and is a master of all of them magically. He. I don't even want to say. I was gonna say, fine, whatever. Like you would think this man is Jamaican with the amount of jabs he has.
And as the honorary not honorary, but the representative African on the panel, I also commend that same hustling spirit and multiple hat wearing. I could have inaugurated him into Nigeria, but we'll save that ceremony for later. Just know that this man works hard every day, every night, and he deserves his flowers now.
Yes, he does. He deserves all the flowers, all the awards. And it is with great honor that we welcome him onto the stage. The one that we love, Ron.
Yo, yo. Listen, Toby, you didn't get the assignment, sir.
I don't know what assignment I didn't get.
You didn't get it. It's called improv.
What are you talking about?
Don't worry, we'll get it. We'll get it squared away. No, it is so good. And just shout out to Elle for the quick thinking, because I was about to get lost in the sauce myself. Like, wait, what is going on here? Then she's like, oh no, we're gonna do something totally different. Like, bet, let's go. But yes, I am here in the flesh. Just as y'all can tell, what Elle and Toby just said, I just literally got out of work. Like, just literally got out of work. And even then, because I live so close to my job, I just pretty much just walked home and got hissed at by. I got hissed at by one of the ducks.
You said
I got hissed at. Yeah. So if you guys know about Canadian geese and whatnot, they kind of can be territorial at some point. And me, minding my own business, listening to Elle as she was talking about her weekend. As I'm walking by, me and the Canadian goose make eye contact. Like, we're literally making eye contact. I'm like, oh, what's up? He hissed at me, or she hissed at me. It hissed at me. Like, you're not supposed to be here. Like, listen, I will come over there and I will cook you right now and your little homies, and you will be tonight's dinner. Try me if you want to. Try me if you want to. I might make you to a burrito or something. I don't know. But yeah, try me if you want to.
Mm-hmm. But you're just at work making burritos and you still have time to make another burrito?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
That's hilarious.
Yep. But sheesh. No, it's been a long while. It's been a long time coming. Like, I know somebody, I think was it Mish who said they missed my face? Yes. Oh, I got time for that smoke. I got time. I got time. I was working in the kitchen all day. Oh yeah, I got time. Now. As far as those Canadian geese go, I really don't think they want this smoke. They really don't. They really don't. They're gonna be missing a whole flock. They're like, hey, where happened to Billy? What happened to Bob? Like, oh no, they got roasted slowly. Literally. I got a grill in the back and a smoker in the back. So yeah, they will get roasted real nice. But that other than that, been good. It's been great. It's been awesome. Miss you guys. Even though it's been like a week, still miss you guys.
Yeah. Miss you all too. It's always great. Like, it's always one of those things where it's like, all right, here we go. Look where I just came from, Goose.
I mean, thanks, chat.
That's funny.
It is. Oh man, it is. It's hilarious. Oh my goodness. But it's good to see you guys' faces. Missed you both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you were on last week, right? But it was just before that that I think the first few weeks of the month or something
Mm,
that you were busy holding it down. I respect it.
yeah, yeah. Respectfully, yes. But even still, it's just the fact that on Tuesdays, I actually look forward to my Tuesdays, my Tuesday nights. I look forward to it just due to the fact that you get to kick back and relax and vibe out and hang out with not only my two favorite people in the world, but also with the chat too, who by far probably the best chat group in all of human history. I don't care what anybody says, y'all can fight me on this, but I think we have the best chat in the world, hands down. Hmm. Hmm.
Mm.
But yeah, no, it's just I don't know. It's just been great. It's been awesome. It's been amazing. If you guys haven't, well, I don't know if I shared this in the Discord or not, but I had a family reunion over the past weekend, and I was able to see a lot of my relatives I haven't seen since I was a kid. So you're looking at almost a good 20 plus years since the last time I saw them. One of my relatives, the last time I saw her was when my oldest, he was about 3. That was the last time I saw her. He was about 3 years old. And so it was good to catch up with her and everything else. So, just good to catch up with the family. And I think they're trying to plan on going down south for the next family reunion next year. But then
Okay.
again, a lot of them is. But then again, a lot of them is saying, you know what, you guys should come back to DC. I'm like, yes, I would love to go to DC because I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends, they live out in DC. If they don't live out in DC, they live pretty close to DC. So it'll be nice to catch up with them as well. So I am I don't know, just excited to do a lot more traveling, but understanding that this year may not do as much traveling as I would like. But oh well, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay. That was awesome.
And I might be biased, but yes to visiting DC and completing the trio link. Um,
Hmm.
the final connection that hasn't happened yet.
Well, I'd say second to last because all three of us need to meet in person.
Yes, that too. That too.
Yeah.
That too.
That for sure
That
is the thing.
yes, I co-sign on that one.
Hold on, Chad. Hold on, Chad.
Da,
Hold on, Chad. And
da,
I'm just finding
da.
out now. No, I was honestly,
What?
I was. Oof. It may have been very hard, honestly. The way my weekend went, I was asleep.
Mm.
Mm.
Slash, there was a lot going on. But what did you visit for? Just curious. And yeah. Well, I'll give my little brief thing too. Ron,
Yeah.
yeah, and if you had finished up there,
That's
I I don't even know. I feel like I've been working. Oh, okay, nice. Um, hey, that's a real one though. I mean, you're a real one for. It's not the farthest trip, but it's definitely not right next door. So probably like what 4? Because I know if you go from Baltimore to Philly, that's on a good day an hour and a half. So to get to DC, I'm assuming it was at least 2.5 hours. Um, that's not
yeah. I
terrible.
always thought Philly. Yeah, I always thought Philly to DC was 2 hours. It's 2.5.
Ooh, that I mean, I don't know if it's a straight. I think started
Uh,
muted. Um,
yeah, Toby, something's going on with your audio.
no, I just hit the like the touchpad.
Oh,
So I literally just hit the mute button on accident a bunch. But
gotcha.
interesting. I'm gonna have to look up the distance myself. I know. I mean, we'll see in the future when I go to Philly.
Ooh, I mean,
definitely
Chad
have
just
friends.
confirmed
2 hours. It's really 2 hours.
he did just do that. Yeah, that's not bad at all. That's one of the reasons why I was considering moving to Philly. Still kind of am, depending, because that's so close. Like that's because in Florida, like you drive 2 hours in any direction, you're still in Florida. So, so-
Yeah, the rain was a lot.
it'd be just
Yeah, so that's good.
because like you're close to because Philly's close to DC and close to New York City, pretty much.
Mm.
Yeah, that sounds so nice.
What, you moving out to Philly?
It's very close to New York City.
I've considered it. I still kind of am. Like,
Okay.
so I forgot to mention this. I can't believe this slipped my mind. Two things slipped my mind. Like, my sister from Boston was in town for a bit. She went to Mexico City in Mexico. Not New Mexico. I don't think they have a Mexico. Maybe they do. Anyway, and you know she really loves DC. Like, you know she loves DC and you know thinks about. Hey, Gil.
Yeah.
What's funny is like Gil's the second thing that I forgot to mention. It was Gil's birthday, and we hung out at a brewery
Yes.
Oh, good.
with some of his friends. Yeah. It's always
Hey.
great to see him. He always says that he like loves the show and he looks forward to it. It makes him so happy. It made me happy.
That's nice. Because Gil's like a content creator, like for real. Like when I like catch glimpses of his stuff, I'm like, okay, this is someone who knows really how to make stuff. So just being a fan of like, you know, the three of us doing our thing, having fun, I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same. But, yeah, real quick, my sister was saying that like houses is still pretty cheap, at least near DC. At least maybe compared to us, where you know Boston and South Florida. No, I mean South Florida used to be cheap, and now it's just not. So so you know how the city's expensive, but at least a little bit away from the city is cheaper, which is what it's supposed to be.
Right. You get some reprieve by going to the suburbs.
Right, yeah, but like in South Florida here, it's like not even the case anymore. DC Comics. Oh, I was kind of. I'm sorry if I was an asshole. DC. Did I say that? My bad. Oh, DC the city.
Yeah. I feel like these are two separate thoughts that he just put into the one comment.
Yeah, no. Yeah, my sister was also in town. Like she came to town. I can't remember. I think it was like Thursday. Then she flew out Friday. I think she's back though. Anyway, so what's funny? It was like because she's like always just kind of travels. She'll just be like, "Hey, I'm in town. You want to get dinner tomorrow?" I'm like, "Sure." I didn't know you were coming to town.
Oh, I'm dead.
Okay. but yeah, so she was saying that like even just on the suburbs and outskirts of DC, like how to purchase a home is still it's not that bad compared to like Boston or even down here. So I was like, yo, if I could get like sell my house and buy a house up there, like I would do because I love DC too. But yeah, that's enough of my tangent.
Yeah, no, I mean that's interesting. I know housing thing is something I'm still looking. Well, I'm not really looking into because I just know it's a shot market right now. But for sure, I was talking to a friend. She was interested in coming to the Maryland or at least Virginia area. I guess like because I think she's engaged, but her guy is like military, so she personally does not want to stay around the military, but they're just looking at a lot of different spots. And it was, just kind of interesting to see the breadth of like mostly this area. 'Cause I think she's from like slightly north of New York, but like, she's kind of been familiar with other cities too, and so she was not really trying to go back into that another sort of north, overpriced, all that stuff area. But there are some other good places like Tennessee. Apparently, no income tax, and there's a lot of growth down there. I mean, I've never been to Tennessee, but from the people who I do know out there, they do seem to like it. It's just that's a pretty big change for me personally, um, but yeah, that aside, a very kind of quick, just like what the heck was life doing? I think I was dealing with tax stuff. That's a whole different story. And I was able to it's still not fully done, but like there was just some stuff that needed to be done and fixed, and I had to do some follow up. So the taxes are taxing. It was just a lot that I had to like deal with. But it's kind of like mostly, I mean, at least one big part is done. I have to kind of get some other stuff done and verified. So I feel like I just spent so much time last week, and even before that, definitely did not sleep a lot last week. As I was like, I just felt like I was just putting all my time and energy into this. And then I know Friday I did go out against my better judgment to this R&B party. It was fine. It was chill. Went home, slept like a lot. But then in the afternoon, I had to get ready for a gala, and I was just so busy, like doing some aftermath of the tax stuff, plus dealing with some other stuff. I had like another big issue. Like I bought a cryptocurrency that got delisted off Robinhood, which is already like not the move. Robinhood is not the place to buy crypto, but it's just it's very convenient. So I did, and then I was like, oh, we're delisting this, and I was like, I can't, dude. Like they were gonna force sell all my stuff, which was already very much down. Like it was a lot, like very down. Like if I sold that, I would have been kind of out of luck. But I just didn't like. I hadn't, because I think this happened earlier in June, and they were delisting it today. So I was like, okay, I really need to get this done now. So Saturday, which is like the 24th, I think, I'm like, let me send this, or the 23rd, I think. So that was 24th. So I send all the stuff to like another wallet, but then it's like not sending. It says it's sent, but it's just like in transit. And so I was like, oh my God, did I just lose all of this? Are you kidding me? So I started like furiously looking through Reddit and other stuff. So that was a bit of a panic mode. And apparently Robinhood has a limit. You can't send more than a certain amount of value with crypto, which I sent more than that. And so I was like, why would they let me do this? So did my stuff just get lost forever? Why would they even allow this to go above the limit? Because normally things like that will stop you, like Zelle or any platform with any sense will stop you if you try to send anything above the limit. So I asked the support people. Yeah, I mean, they have problems for sure, but I just was like, I just needed quick access. So it was what it was. Thankfully, they at least have the wallet, so like you can send and receive. So it just took like 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours. And the support guy said, oh yeah, everything is fine. We increased the limits for this coin because, we're no longer supporting it. So they said we've increased the limit temporarily just for this. And so no worry, just wait for it to finish. And so like maybe 20 minutes after that, it was sent. So, it was a bit scary because I was like, heck no, I didn't just lose all this. But that was like one big thing I had to do. So just like all this nonsense. And then finally I get ready, go to this gala. I show up at like 10:59 p.m. and ends at 11. I'm like, it's Black people. It's probably going to go to at least an hour. No, like they were done. So of course I got roasted by the few people who are there I know, because this is the NSBE, the Black engineers, but the DC chapter. So I've met some of them and some previous events, but I'm still pretty new. So I see some people, they roast me, and I was like, that's fine. I'll take the L, no pun intended, because I was just like, you know what, like today was a busy day. But then they had like an after party. So there was just someone's apartment, and there was some people who I again recognized from previous stuff. So we were all just going until like 3 a.m. So, we were in the DC Navy Yard, which is a pretty nice area. Like it's very, kind of redeveloped. So it was cool. It was a chill night. It wasn't like super hardcore party vibes, though. There was definitely alcohol. I was personally not, because I didn't really eat that day because I didn't make it to the gala and I just didn't eat a lot at home. So I was like, we're not gonna like drink and get myself killed tonight, like from poisoning. So I kind of kept the alcohol pretty low key. But then they had some food because the president's Jamaican, Jamaican American, so he actually had like some beef patties or something that he brought, either that he found locally or maybe even made. And then there was some pizza that people brought and some other stuff. So, it was nice. I got food, drank just a little bit. There was some Henny White. Apparently, pure Henny White is not found in the country, so you can't get Henny White in the U.S. Oh, I don't remember if I ended up taking a pic. That's annoying. I was supposed to have taken a picture of it as proof, but it's all good. So I didn't even realize that till right now, but it's fine. No worries. I'm not salty at all. So there was Henny White. And so, yeah, that was my weekend. I think Sunday I stayed in. I met someone the night before. She's Nigerian, and she was telling me that there was this concert in DC, like a party, but there was an artist. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. But thankfully, I have limits. So when I saw how Sunday was going, and I just had so much errands and things to do, stuff I had to verify with taxes, just so much nonsense, I thankfully had the sense to stay in. But what's funny is my sister, who, like, I know sometimes she goes out, but I feel like with the pandemic and stuff, I feel like she hasn't been going to stuff as much. But she actually went to the event that I almost went to, where this African artist was performing. And then a friend from college, like, we hadn't been in touch, but she was in my graduating class, and her older sister knows my sister. And my sister's like 3 years older than me, and this girl is the girl from my college is my age, but she has an older sister who I guess was classmates at my sister's University of Maryland. So, and I already knew that she had an older sister that knew my sister, but it was just funny, like in our little sibling WhatsApp group, my sister sends this picture of her and this other girl. I was like, is that, like, I'll call her D. I was like, is that D? And yeah, I was like, yeah, it is. And so I just was like, what a small world. Imagine if I showed up. I was like, it's a good thing. I mean, not like I'm wilding, but it's like if I showed up and I was on not great behavior, like, I don't know. I've never seen my sister out ever. I've never seen any of my family at like an event because, I've not been here in the DMV on my shenanigans. So now I'm like, oh gosh, I could really like run into people. I don't know how I feel about that. So, yeah, I'm like, I mean, honestly, I wished I had shown up then. I was like, man, this would have actually been really fun. Kind of funny almost, but at the same time, I don't know. I still haven't really crossed that bridge. Partying with your siblings. And I went to an event, some African event some weeks ago, and another girl from my college in the same program as this other girl, D. This girl, C, I saw, and I was like, oh my God, C, I haven't seen you in so long. And she doesn't even live here. Like, she's in like Atlanta. So she was like, yeah, I just came to visit. And then she was with her younger sister. And then she apparently, this girl also has an older sister who went to University of Maryland and knows my sister. So it's just like so many crazy connections. And so she was like, she even asked me, did you come to this event with your sister? And I was like, no, I don't know if that's really a thing. Because I don't know, like, she was with, my friend C was with her younger sister that day, like a month ago. But I was like, I don't know, that's different. I haven't really coordinated to that level of showing up to things with my family. So, but anyway, that was a different thing some weeks ago. But I just thought it was interesting. And maybe I will ask my sister, like, are you going to concerts and African events or maybe brunch? And maybe I'll go and it can be a whole thing. Because I don't know, it might be an interesting experience. So weekend was chill, and I'm just trying to move forward and get some stuff ready for the upcoming weekends. I did want to say one thing though, Elle. The weekend before, there was this event called Juneteenth something. It was called Scotland Freedom Festival, and there was performances from, I think Taurus Riley was the kind of ending act, and he's like a big reggae artist, but I never really heard of him. I didn't really know him that well. Like, maybe I'd heard of him. I definitely recognized some songs. Like, there was a really popular one that I was like, oh, I've heard this before. I can't remember the name, but like, it was definitely just like Jamaica O'Clock. I think Patrice, well, I don't know if she might be Trini because she's a soca artist, right? But Patrice, can't remember her name right now, but Drink Water and Mind My Business. Like, she's a really big female. Patrice something, but and then there was also Egyptian, and there was someone else who I can't remember, but it was like a lot of it was a lot of like Caribbean artists, and I was like, oh, this is super, super, super cool. I know Bungie Garland was at another event, Voice, some other big artists that I can't remember right now, Lyrical. So it was definitely like a lot of Caribbean stuff going on that weekend and the weekend before because of like this big kind of carnival festival called Hooky Weekend. So that was like
Mhm.
2 weeks ago, but it's been pretty active. I just haven't been able to get myself to everything because of life, but we getting there.
Hey, that's good.
I'm getting myself back out slowly but surely.
Let's go.
Like, how far are you from DC?
Um, it's like almost 40 minutes. Typically, at least I'm thinking when it's not traffic. So if I'm going home late at night, it's like always 36 minutes. Um,
Okay.
so like, kind of annoying, of course, when it's late, but at the same time, once I get out of DC and like hit the main highway, it's not that long. It's usually like 12 or 15 minutes at that point. It's just like getting out takes you on these like long winding roads, like
Mhm.
one lane. Typically, you're on this road for like 5 to 10 miles, and then finally you hit the highway. So it's just like it's very predictable now. Like it used to be very like confusing, but now it's kind of predictable most of the ways of getting out or even into DC. Um, but I haven't been to every part of DC. Um, but kind of the main parts that are more event centered. So
Okay.
can't complain too much. It could be further. So I don't know. I try. It depends. It really depends what we're talking about. Um, it really depends. But that's basically it for me. Patrice Roberts. Yeah.
Okay.
Wyclef Jean. How was the other one who performed? But I missed him. I got there at the end of Egyptian to Taurus Riley, so I missed like everything. But my friend gave me a free ticket, which is the only reason I even showed up. That's a different story for later, but like, it's just very interesting.
Okay. Free is always best.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's she's a good, becoming a good friend, but someone who I knew really through another good friend from Boston that we met years ago. She was more of like the roommate of someone. I mean, a friend, but low key someone I was talking to. So like, it's just kind of funny that now like we're both in the DMV and now we're kind of have our own friendship, and it's just cool. It's just nice to like reconnect with some people and getting closer or like rebuilding whatever. So it's really the coolest. Stop it. Stop it. And Gabby, that's interesting. Anyway, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to get someone I go out of the country. However, the duty stuff works with buying alcohol outside. Scott. No, no. Well, maybe I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. It's like, I don't know.
Batman has the Riddler. Well, they're gonna have to call me the Rizzler by the time I'm done.
Oh, here we go.
That's fine. We'll just move on from that one.
No, you good. You good, Toby. You make a name for yourself, sir.
I'm trying. Stop it. Gabby, the hype woman. I love it.
I
But-
thirded.
So y'all are too real for that. And in fact, so real that you know what we might have to do?
What do we have to do, Toby?
We might have to talk about real history. Because not just real current events, because this right here is some real Riz, but there was some crazier real things in the past. Toby's the only person I've ever met who says we're just vibing. And actually, yeah, I mean, listen,
True.
whether that's the best sometimes and my own obliviousness, like that's a different story. But I really do think we're just vibing. Sometimes that just involves, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Just make sure to eventually clear it up.
Is it clear it up?
Yeah, sure. Because you may feel something. You may believe this and you're projecting that onto her and she may not feel that. So I'm not saying do that right now. I'm not saying, hey, okay, let me hold on and you go text her right now. You could probably wait like a week or so. But definitely do it soon.
I was like, oh, hold on, I'll be right back.
Oh,
Okay,
not-
that's a joke. But vibration of movement, no comment.
Allegedly.
I was just ready to say that. Allegedly, yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
The word for today is allegedly.
Yikes.
That's the word every day.
Yeah, I forgot to use that word after last week's stream, and well, maybe I should put it in my vocabulary more.
It will save you. Allegedly, it will save you. Not saying from experience, but allegedly.
Hitachi.
It will
I never
save
know
you.
what this means. Hitachi.
Uh-oh.
But
People.
yeah, don't worry. Like that's its own thing. I mean, there's not like an actual real situation right now, but just in general, they're an official sponsor of this stream. Listen, I feel like I should know, but
Oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't. I'm guessing,
No.
but if it's something in the realm of like, if it's something in the realm of like anime, God forbid hentai, then I assume Gil would definitely know what this is, or it's not the printer. Okay, well, Gabby gets what it is.
So you know how the brand Panasonic has a lot of different things, Samsung has a lot of different things, like a lot of Japanese brand. So Hitachi is a brand like that, where they make a lot of things. And one of the things that they're famous for is making a massage wand.
Oh, so that
And-
brings from the vibration.
Right. And it
Nice.
became, I guess, a staple in a lot of housewives' homes.
For adults. Okay, everything is getting together. Well, Gil, maybe it's for the best. Well, that's even an implication to say it's for the best. I was gonna say maybe it's for the best. You don't know it, but actually, no, that's fine. Actually, it's all good. Regardless, don't feel bad because I definitely didn't know. Like, I've probably heard this come up, but definitely never made that connection. And I definitely didn't know that they had this wand that just enchants women, I guess, and casts some kind of spell. So it's not the printer. Yeah, it's not the printer. It's fax, no printer. It's not fax either. It's not the fax. Not fax. But that being said, the history of Hitachi and the not printers that housewives have become enamored with. There's other history. It's a wand that's known to create some magic.
Yeah.
Enchants. Listen, I had to keep on brand on theme for this one. So what do I know? I'm just a humble Boy,
Riz game.
lad. I'm a lad who's just fallen into the Riz game without even meaning to.
I'm gonna share something in the Discord.
Uh-oh.
Oh man, Toby, I blame you.
I don't know what's going on right now. Like, I don't know if it's...
It's a scene from
Okay.
Sex and the City.
Like I said, Toby, I blame you.
history.
I'm sorry.
Chad's
Anyway.
like, yeah, you started this, I think. Yeah.
Anyway,
You're
history.
yeah, Toby, you were talking about realness
Yeah.
and how history is real.
Yeah, we had to do real history in addition to the realness of today. And there's quite a lot of current events. There's quite a lot of currents and vibrations going on in today. We also have history that is also very real. And sometimes that real history, which actually might include these topics, well, that's more of education. There's definitely certain topics, but history in particular, that has not been taught the way it should be taught. And that is what we are ideally getting at. Now, earlier in the month, we did talk about some of these other taboo topics, like sex, or sex education, or not even really broadly, but just, sexuality and some things, and what, parents should have control over versus educators. And that was a good topic and everything. But here we go a little deeper into the history. What are the histories that were not taught that you had to learn yourself? Maybe I can honestly Toby in a haram. I don't know. I don't want to see this. Toby's like, I don't know what this is. I'm a one-man band. Hey, listen. I'm a one-man band. I'm a one-man team. They call me Niger player because I used to play the violin. I used to play soccer. And I used to play video games. And Niger is Nigerian.
Mm.
And now all I do is play women. But back to the topic. We have
Wait, what?
we have
That was great. That was great.
so that joke can go either way, but in fact, I don't really post it publicly because I'm just like, this is not going to go too well if I just put this broadcast this on my Instagram or Facebook story. But I make my little jokey jokes.
Jokes.
Because Niger Player was one of my usernames. I think actually it was technically my YouTube name, but it was also some others, like Snapchat. And there was someone, I saw a joke once that was like, it's from a woman. It was from a woman. So first of all, this was y'all. Like, y'all are the one that started this, and I'm just piggybacking. And the joke that I saw was like, do you know how to play any instruments? Or do you know how to play, an instrument's like, no, but I know how to play men. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'm stealing this.
That's funny.
There was a woman, or, she was younger than me, but she went to my grad school when she was an undergrad. She was like, hey, does anyone know how to play an instrument? So I was like, oh, I just saw this meme. So I commented, no, but I can play woman pretty well. No, but I can play woman pretty well. She understood that. One friend commented, I think it was like, yo, where's this random savageness coming from? Someone else, because these were all friends who went to the same school in like the Black or Hispanic community. So one guy was like, well, where's the savageness coming from? Another guy was like, yo, Toby with the daily dose of the savage. And another guy like angry reacted it or something. So it was like, and then another girl who I was good friends with, I think she just wow reacted it. So it was just so funny. So it was yes, so that was definitely just it was a moment that I had to just like take the advantage of in that moment. And then but it wasn't something like that I was like gonna advertise because it works, but it's a sparingly joke because no one sees it come in. And like it's true, like I really did used to play all these things. And the reason why I made that name was actually because I played all these different things. Very wholesome at the time. I was a much more wholesome lad. So the only thing in my mind was like, oh, I played video games. Like the pun was obvious because player, but I was like, the only thing I play is like my Naruto and Super Smash Brothers. But you know,
The savage life.
the one she's like 4th this week and it's only Tuesday.
Like,
Yeah.
now streaming on Freeform.
You know, you gotta be careful out here. But that's enough of me.
Oh man.
Hey!
I just caught the Tuesday thing. I was like, wait a second.
It's only Tuesday.
Yeah, we can do some math and some we can do a little discrete. We can do some mathematics and figure out, well, what's the minimum number of people bagged per day if we're on day 2 of this week, or day 3 if Sunday is the first day. That means at least one of these days there were 2 people. At least one of these days. This is what I learned a long time ago.
This is the math I learned in high school.
Yeah.
They said I wouldn't need math. Look at us now.
Look at us now.
Facts. Facts.
When I make a spreadsheet, it's not just for work. I gotta keep track of I gotta keep track of a lot of things. Days of the week. It's gotta map it all out.
Staying corrected. Oh, snaps.
But who actually came up with, because even though I was doing the, what do you call it? Hold on. Oh, okay, I couldn't see. There we go. Yeah, I actually was checking out a little bit of Misha's stream before I came on here. Well, it was even before that, but my phone was not doing multi-window very well. But Mish is streaming math, relearning math, and I'm very here for it because we talked about that before one time. And I was like, no way that Mish made this a reality. That Mish is really streaming math.
That's dope.
That was like something that like we talked about. Like Mish really wanted to do it, and I was like, oh, that would be super cool. And then I'm just like, wait, this is real? I'm so psyched.
Man,
yes.
I'll definitely tune in next time because I do want to see how much I remember. Like, what kind of math were you teaching, Mish?
And unfortunately, I got cut off like near the big. Like my phone was not handling because I was trying to drive home, so it was not handling the map and the Twitch window. It was like, yeah, we're not doing this. So I missed basically the beginning of it. Like Mish was still, I think, in the intro. So I was like, no. Leave it intro calculus. Yeah, I remember limits. I remember seeing limit in the introduction. And I was so pained because I couldn't. You could say that my phone was at its limit.
Hey.
It was just too hot to handle. Really, it was overheating. So that was the problem.
Literally
Not boo.
Now Misha's spoiled. They only prefer high quality puns.
Tragic.
Just saying.
I love both.
Okay, good.
As you should.
Yeah. I didn't want to seem like we were punishing you.
Clever. I love it.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Mm.
I love it here. Again, I love my Tuesday nights. I look forward to it. I look forward to my Tuesdays nights. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
telling you,
Some
LB bringing some heat, low key.
You said what's
Why'd
up?
you
Yeah.
I was saying no, LB bringing some heat, low key. You just gotta listen. You gotta listen real good.
Thank you. I
I was a
tried.
All
I'm
good.
glad y'all appreciate it.
I was professionally trained. You better be bringing the heat.
Okay, Toby. Dang.
Oh
Talking
my
to me like I'm one of
god!
your girls.
Wait, so
Shit.
what? Yikes! Now hold on. Now, how do you know how you're talking to these alleged girls? Allegedly, the girls that I have.
I'm telling you. Oh man, listen. Oh, y'all got listen. For those that are in the chat, I'm gonna put it to y'all like this. When we get done streaming this episode, I'm gonna need y'all to blast this because this mess is hilarious. This mess is hilarious. Oh man, I love it. I love it. Okay, so what this young man over here was talking about as far as real history goes, we're gonna try to bring this thing in. We're gonna
Yeah.
try.
We'll try.
Well, what he was referred to is if you haven't been if you haven't been aware as far as noticing what's been going on the elementary school level, middle school level, high school level, and even on the collegiate level, a lot of material that we once read as kids is being banned. And so a lot of the books like Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, Charlotte's Web, for crying out loud, those books are being taken out of the school systems, the school libraries. And even then, um, what was another one? To Kill a Mockingbird. That was getting pulled, which is like really strange to me. But a lot of it is centered on, oh, it's part of this quote unquote woke, there we go, woke propaganda, and we shouldn't teach.
I'm just
No comment. Not even gonna
yeah,
get into
sorry,
that
go
one.
on.
So, and even then, when it comes to the topic of slavery, a lot of times it gets skated by a lot. It gets skated by a lot, whereas like maybe the younger kids kind of get an introduction to it, and the older kids in the elementary schools they kind of get more in depth, but it's not necessarily um, going through as far as addressing what happened behind it, what was the aftermath behind it, and even then, a lot of the conversations that were happening around that time frame has made very huge impacts as far as our current society. And so, for tonight's episode, as we're ending the month of June, that's what we're going to really talk about. We're going to talk about the real history. We're going to talk about what really happened back during the slavery times and why people should read a lot of the quote unquote banned books, why you should read them. So you can get a better idea, a better understanding, and even then a better appreciation as far as the movements that have been made once slavery was abolished. Um, ooh,
Lopi tells. Oh snap! Oh my gosh, I forgot about that thing. I used to love L'Hopital's rule. Now hold on. Not too woke. Get out of there.
Sheesh. That's crazy.
Squeeze theorem. Yo, that's wild. That was the thing where, yes, if you have infinity over infinity, you can take the derivative of the top and bottom, right? And then do the limit to infinity. Or if it's a limit to infinity, or if it's 0 over 0. I think it's either of those things. Or maybe it's 0 over 0. I was just like, yes. I actually like L'Hopital's rule because it's so chill. It's very chill. Like there's some very not chill things in calculus, but that one was like, oh, I like this. I enjoy what's happening here. You're making my life easier. Squeeze theorem. I remember that also to some degree. To some degree. Because there was literally a trig thing with that. Sine and cosine. When am I next time and do math with me? Let me know. Let me know in advance. Because that would actually be super dope. I've like math is something I actually enjoyed. Like for real.
Me too. Me should just find the sexiest people to do math with them.
Hey, let's go. Like have like robes, candlelights. Yeah, that'll work. Chocolates and fine wines. Boom. Math night. Brought to you by Mish.
Hey.
Finally, a calculus night.
Oh man. I hope I didn't bit off more than what I could chew. That's going to be very interesting to say the least.
See, they don't want you to know math history. They don't want you to know the real history of math. They're banning. They don't want you to know that the Muslims invented the number 0. So they're banning the number 0 from books, and everything has just gone. Give me some time on that one. But the Muslims really did, or some math. There was some math renaissance that happened within Islam, and some things like the number 0. I think even like the decimal place and some other stuff were invented. But that's too woke, along with Arabic numerals. So Arabic numerals, it is very difficult. Very difficult to do math without Arabic numerals. But they want that. That's the future that they want. That's what the anti-wokeists want from us. Algebra. Yeah. Have you heard of algebra? Oh my gosh. I can just imagine someone trolling and just like spreading misinformation on purpose of like this. They're trying to teach, even though Islamophobia is not really cool anymore. Like there was a point in the 2016 run-up where it was like this was the thing. But now it's like not really talked about. I feel like it's no longer a hot button thing. It just kind of disappeared out of nowhere.
I mean, it's still definitely a thing. Like, you know, people who are like Muslim, especially women who wear like the hijabs, and you know, men who are like Muslim looking. They don't even have to. Anyway, like they still get stopped at, you know, at TSA. Like I have yet to meet like a Muslim person who just didn't have that experience.
Yeah.
Like that's wild to me. But it's like also not surprising, but it's also just like it's wild but not surprising, and it's sad.
Yeah. Actually, in the Arabic world. Oh, that's interesting.
Where it's at.
Well, actually, though, if that's for real, that makes sense. And I wouldn't have actually, like, whoa, algebra. I mean, there's so many words like kindergarten and like even California is a Muslim word because Caliph. So there was like a Muslim history of Islam with California. Um,
Oh, I thought it was Spanish.
so it's definitely like annexed from Mexico and everything, but I remember some article that was explaining like the Muslim origin.
Hmm.
Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah.
The inspiration for the word was likely caliph or khalifa.
Mm. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Hey, 1 minute translate. So there's definitely some interesting things. But yeah, that's very valid. Like people are still experiencing it. It's just not as like high profile. And it hasn't been as like when I say like it's not cool in terms of like campaign rhetoric and stuff. It's no longer an issue the way it was in 2016. Like that. And so it's just kind of very interesting that like, yes, you're gonna have to make some kind of trans reference. That's really what you have to do is link numbers to transness and gender. Then you will definitely see math books getting banned. That is absolutely going to happen.
I mean, there was a math book in Florida. I don't think it got banned, but it was. I think it like pushed back or something, or rewritten, or I don't know, like something got taken out, like because on account of quote unquote wokeness.
Oh, God.
Because, and I think it was a high school book too, which was, which is even kind of crazier.
Mm.
It was it had something to do with like statistics or something like that. And those little sidebar pieces of information in textbooks that you don't really read.
Mm-hmm.
So one of those little sidebar things had info about, I don't know, something about stats in like regards to like, I think it was the 2020 election or the 2016 election, one of those elections, and like oh, I think it said something like most people who voted Republican were white men or something like that, and I think it just broke down like the demographics of who voted for what, like, and it's like I forgot like what it was, but I guess they were just like getting upset about that because I guess it just had the word white men when it was just like a descriptor. It's like, why are you getting mad at the truth? Like that's true though. Like they're just saying that like
It was part of the data set that they collected, and that's what came out. Sorry, but not sorry.
Yeah, it's like we're not trying to say a bad thing. We're just saying that's what the data said. Like, what can I tell you?
They really said that. Said the whites. It says white people. Yeah, 47. Or the percentage is the percentage. What do you want? They want
To change the statistics? Like, no, then we'd be lying. That's not what math is.
They want alternative math. So I wanted to coin the term alternative math when alternative facts trended because Kelly and Conway's nonsense. And there was a point where like I think people were trying to say that like Trump golfed less than Obama did by using the raw amount of Trump's like 1 year at that point. And I was like, I know y'all are not this bad at math. Like this isn't even my issue. Like this isn't even something that I'm just like this is such nonsense. Like 2017 was such a nonsense time. Like we were talking about freaking tweets and Kofi and just nonsense. Like there was like nothing serious. Not that there wasn't serious stuff, but it was just such a dumb time. And so I was like, do I even really care about this? But it's just such a dumb argument. Like same thing with the inauguration numbers. It's like, what are we like lying about stupid stuff? Like, and so they were like trying to like say that, oh, he golfed less. And I'm like, well, no crap. He literally has been in office for a year. What do you want? And so I was like, what you were supposed to do is take the rate of like how often, like basically you have to extrapolate the data of like 1 year of the golfing and see if he did that for his whole term. Would it be more than Obama's? And it turned out it would have been, or something like that. And so I was like, this is called alternative math. So I never like made a big thing out of it. I never got to coin it. And I'm sure someone somewhere used the hashtag alternative math. But I was like, man, alternative math would be such an easy like picking just for like just to call out some nonsense. And again, I'm like, do I even care this much? Like, if they want to go ahead and like just say nonsense things like for their press releases, then or their press secretary, then I guess they can do that. But like, let's just not pretend that that's true, like, because it's not how numbers work. You have to kind of compare apples to apples, and so alternative math was an actual thing. Like, even like the whole thing with like, oh, if you take the total number of illegal votes, you had like 3 million plus. I'm like, did you just like fake data to like pretend that 3 million people cast the illegal ballots? Like, is this what we're doing right now? Like, even though it was kind of like a joke at first, but I'm like, there's literal like fake math that people have been attempting to do. And I'm like,
And
please
it's
don't,
dangerous.
like, don't don't do this, please.
Yeah. Like it's absolutely dangerous. But when you mentioned comparing apples to apples, I did want to talk about in terms of history. They oftentimes I oftentimes hear that kind of how things are, how people are kind of speaking, especially about the news, claiming news is fake, the tensions that we have in this country. It's very reminiscent and almost identical to pre World War II or like pre Holocaust. And, where Hitler was rising to power and, there was, I don't know my World War II history that well, folks, so definitely help me out here. I believe there was like definitely like a lot of poverty going on in Germany. And, of course, there's a lot of tension and frustration because, you're poor. And so instead of, long story short, it's much easier to blame someone or people as to why you're feeling this way than to just take it up on yourself. Kind of pretty sort of thing. Like I know it's true. I don't even want to say it sounds like uncaring, but it's true. Like there's anyway. So they just blame the Jews on everything. They just blame Jewish people for everything, and it just got really fucking bad. Obviously, like y'all know the story, and the unfortunate everything of that time. And yeah, like, so do I think, but everyone keeps, like, a lot of people keep saying it's never going to get that bad. Oh, it's not like that. It's not like that. It's like, there's like, I guess like people don't know fascism unless they read it in history books, and also how fascism is taught. I don't know about y'all. Like, I don't think I was really taught it. I think I've mentioned this before, that this board game called Secret Hitler that I play with like some of my friends, it kind of taught me more than school. Like it was like a weird combination of that board game, clips and things I watched from The Daily Show, and just common sense, and just knowing that certain things shouldn't be happening, or like certain things that's, you hear something and you think, that sounds kind of illegal, like my governor, Florida's governor, just drawing up the districts and then completely wiping out a predominantly black district to make it white, and then to change up the congressional I want to say the congressional power in the state. And I'm like, y'all just let him draw it and then y'all just approve that? Like, isn't that fascism? Like, it was like this guy who barely won governor the first time, and we're just gonna let him do that as if and as if the majority of the state wants that. I was like, no. But it was just weird how all these things are happening and then we just don't really have a say. And then it just seems like, oh, you have to care about this. Like, right now, unfortunately, like, with all the anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ laws and crap, it never just ends there, nor do you want it to even start there. Personally, there are just people out here who just want it to, like, it's like, oh, it's never going to affect me. It's like, that shouldn't be why you don't care.
Right.
I don't know how to convey that. It's like when someone's saying, if you're like this, you shouldn't be able to do these things. It's like, what? It's like, that's kind of, it's like, oh, you should be discriminated against and that should be legal. And I'm like, no.
Right.
Yeah, like it's absolutely wild. But I guess like what I wanted to say and ask is, do y'all see anything from history that I guess how much apples to apples, like how identical do things have to be for I don't know. I don't know what my question is, but I don't know. Do y'all see any patterns? Do y'all see anything identical, or am I like freaking out too much for no reason?
Well, what I was gonna say was, I think, to frame the question, like, how similar does maybe today have to be from a time in the past, or how similar do we need to see a trend in the past to today to be concerned or to start worrying? Like how maybe like how similar are things? But I kind of get the gist of that. And I know you had something to say, Ron, too. I would just say that, like, one thing I just thought briefly was the Spanish flu, and there were some key differences from because that came up a lot, like the whole Spanish flu, because of the fact that it really was literally 100 years later. It was kind of like just crazy, the timing of it, or like a little bit over that, but it was the fact that we had that pandemic, and that was a thing. There was definitely, like, there's other sort of parallels to other times in history. And there's quite a lot of things in history I still have to kind of like learn more about, with like certain things with colonization, like some things, like especially in the 1900s, where it's like you kind of like, did history end? I mean, like, it didn't end, but like kind of all the states got stated in the US. Colonization happened, and then the countries became independent. You kind of had like some countries getting independence, especially like in the Arab world. You have the whole Arab Spring. I mean, that was, that's something that then led to like a whole lot of consequences, and it's kind of not unresolved. But there definitely were like some stuff that happened, maybe not even just today, but in the last 10 years, where people were making parallels to like decades before. I have to think a little bit more to find like more similarities, and kind of like what things, what are things that could be taught in history where it actually is more applicable. Because I don't know, when I was in school, I mean, I don't know, I guess it was like a relative. Oh, well, I think the big one that we did learn, where we were talking about, is this similar to what was in the past, was the Iraq War, because I think I took U.S. history in 2010. And so we weren't out of Iraq at the time. That didn't happen until I think 2013 or so. Something, because I feel like it didn't happen until Obama's second term, really. Unless, I don't know if we pulled out that quickly. I know, well, maybe what happened was ISIS started to resurge, and then we had to like go back in. But like, and of course, getting out of Afghanistan. So it was kind of like, are we in the same kind of pattern compared to Vietnam, right? That was the question I remember my AP US history teacher asked. Are we in another Vietnam? We had like a little thing where we learned about Israel. That was almost a bit on an aside from the official curriculum, because I didn't know anything about Israel in the history. No idea. Like, I was completely ignorant of how like that was a place that was settled as a new homeland after World War II. Like, zero idea. I just thought that these countries in the Middle East had all kind of historically been there, not literally since biblical days, but I kind of saw them as extensions. I didn't quite know like there had been so much upheaval just over centuries and centuries, and you had like the Ottomans and the Ottoman Empire and all these other empires, the Byzantine Empire. I had no idea of any of this. Like honestly, I really did not know a lot of world history. I mean, I guess that was U.S. history, but world history, where I'm like, whoa, okay. And so I think that is super instructive to know. And human geography, anthropology, which I've not really taken those courses, but I think those are instructive to know too. To see movements of people like the Rohingyas. There's so much I don't know about that, but I always hear about that with Malaysia, Myanmar. I guess they're from Myanmar and they're kicked out and they were in Bangladesh. But they didn't have as much capacity to keep holding them. So now they're trying to go to like Malaysia. And I'm sure that resembles other people groups who have been transit in the past. And I mean, it's very sad to see, regardless all the persecution, the refugees, like the boat of refugees that just, 400 or however many of them died. Like stuff happens, it goes under the radar. And that's kind of a little, I don't want to say it's separate, but I remember seeing, I guess, comparisons to like the six or however many were in the submarine, where it was like so much attention was focused on the people in the sub. And then all these other migrants off the coast of Greece who were basically ignored by the Greek authorities, from what I heard. And there was just no recourse for them. They just drowned, even though there was plenty of time to rescue them, and people knew about them and could have rescued them. Not to say what happened to the people on the Titan were, not to say it wasn't tragic for them and their families, but it was just interesting to kind of see like, the choices that people focus on, and the compassion given, and whatever. I don't know, kind of a little over the place, but I would like to know more history just so I can kind of put more things into context.
Well, your similarities to COVID is definitely something, and the Spanish flu, because we've seen this time and time again in history where, especially in this country, where like there's this crazy fear that if we try to protect somebody for their safety and it like slightly inconveniences them, they think we're trying to fully take away their freedoms. It's like just talking about it now, it almost feels as though they know this, like the steps and symptoms almost of fascism, but it's like they can't really differentiate when this is actually helpful versus when this isn't, when this is harmful. So, for example, when seatbelts were being installed in cars and becoming mandatory, becoming the law, they like there's news, like you can watch news reports online of people saying like, oh, this is taking away my freedom, this is terrible, I can't believe they're doing this, like what's next, what's going to happen next. Even drinking and driving, because they had to be a law stated to stop doing that. So before that, people were like, it's like, what, I can't just have a couple of drinks and then go and drive somewhere? It's like hearing that now just sounds ridiculous, but a lot of people were very, were like, they thought that was just absolute nonsense because, they drink and drive all the time and they're totally fine. And maybe nobody close to them had, unfortunately passed from a drinking and driving incident. So they think it's just absolutely bonkers. To piggyback on the Titan, the Ocean Gate Titan death. Yeah, there was a lot of coverage for it because they were millionaires and billionaires. Like, let's just get that out of the way. And I think around that same time, there was 700 refugees. I can't remember exactly. Somewhere in the ocean, then I think the boat toppled. I forgot where they were going. I think they were going to Spain. I can't remember where they were going. So that too was unfortunate. So two things there. It's for our human brains, it's hard to conceptualize large numbers, but it's easy for us to conceptualize small numbers for one. Two, it's easier for us to understand and process stories than it is for us to process numbers, stats, and data. Hence why it's very easy for people to use data and wield it against people, essentially. For example, a very common stat that I've been seeing floating around, it's kind of been debunked in a way, is that it was something like 70 or 80% of Black male inmates come from a fatherless home. And there's like a video or somewhere out there that kind of breaks it down and helps debunk it better. But, you know, you'll hear people take that stat and then use it against women, which, if you think about it, doesn't really make sense, because what do you want her to do? Just abandon the child? Like, and I was like, oh,
Right.
like the father abandoned him, so I'm going to abandon him too. Like, no. So, so it's pretty much to say that single mothers are terrible parents, but it also goes like, but the stats also dig in to say that, you know, like, it just says a single parent household doesn't necessarily mean a single mother. and like even people, like even, you know, incarcerated folks who are come from a 2-parent household, it's like slightly less, so it's not even, doesn't really make that big of a difference. Anyways, so people use stats and numbers essentially to use it against people. We see it all the time with the whole like, oh, these people are taking our jobs. You might see people take pictures of a Latina woman driving an Escalade, and then the white lady who took a picture of this is like, I work very hard, I can't afford an Escalade. It's like, you don't know if, like, you don't know anything about this lady, you're just making assumptions, you know. But if you share this with the right group of people and say things, especially when this right group of people is very angry, very stressed, very paycheck to paycheck, and they just want things to somehow be easier, to somehow unleash their feelings into, you know, something else, to not, I don't know, either not feel as bad, or to not feel as though that they're failing, or to at least feel like they're better than other people, or maybe they feel like they should be better than certain people, but for whatever reason they're not. Even though that's all BS, you can definitely skew things and really control and manipulate the masses. So, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of single parent thing. I mean, that's always like a very hot kind of topic button thing, and it's definitely something I have to look more into. Apparently, someone claimed, Rep. John Duncan claimed in 2013 that 90% of felons grew up in father-absent households, and the first thing I see is, when I was kind of trying to search some keywords based on what you said, the first thing is PolitiFact saying mostly false. Like, for, I think, you know, again, like, you have to like look at whatever data is available, blah blah blah. But, you know, and I'll look closer at the article later. But like, yeah, it's interesting, right? The whole kind of implications of like the single parent household, and those kind of numbers for sure. I think New York Times had a study a few years ago saying that, like, I don't know if it's something to do with like income or poverty, but like, I forgot what they said, but they were showing something about like single parent households and income and poverty. I have to look it up again, but I guess they were trying to like disprove something, or I don't remember. I have to like find it again, but God, there's so many articles. Like, I don't look this stuff up just like in general. Like, I have to go onto YouTube or do some deeper diving, and figure out, like, because I feel like this is just a forever debate. A little bit of a tangent, but it's just like a forever debate. So it's not going to be solved with one YouTube video, but I would like to maybe get a better place to start with, like, where did this kind of come from? People talk about often with the welfare state. They talk about, that's usually a big thing some people say is because of like Lyndon B. Johnson and some other stuff. That's when the household started to fall apart. People were given, I guess, there was a choice where men could leave the house so that the women could get benefits, and they did it because they thought that there would be a better future for their kids or whatever. And they said that that was like the start of all of these issues. Or people say that, like, I don't know. I don't even know. Like, honestly, like, there's just so much, and I don't even know where to completely start. I guess technically you start in the 1960s, since that's really when like integration happened. That's when the Great Society happened, and like kind of like the expansion of government. And so that's where you could really maybe start and try to see what actually went on. Where was the culture of fatherlessness or whatever? And not even to talk about the war on drugs, because that's its own thing with why a lot of men were in jail. But
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure. There was something that Rocky said a little earlier, where he said, was it this? No, but I understand how the Titan sub gives you mixed feelings. Like I get that. Like it's absolutely very sad and tragic how they died, because like the thing just kind of just collapsed in itself, and like it's just so unfathomable, like I guess it's like hopefully they didn't feel any pain, and then it just kind of, but it's just so tragic. Regardless, but it's also kind of like, and I do want to talk about this in depth later about like, and I think we've kind of briefly talked about it before, where we tend to think that because someone's rich they're automatically smart. And I was like, no. So the person who created the Ocean Gate Titan thing, he kept like there was like multiple times when scientists were saying, hey, like this isn't safe to bring underwater. And even though he did it, I guess, several times, I think, and I guess it was fine, they were saying like, hey, no, that's not safe. That's not safe. I don't fully know the full details, so I could be wrong, but yeah. And then he just kept doing it, trying to cut corners and costs, just to do this particular Titanic viewing. But what Rocky said here, where he says there's so much context and detail left out of what history we learn, so we don't get a full picture of how things actually happen, sets us up to repeat our mistakes. And that's unfortunately the biggest issue, is because how we learn about history, it's usually, especially US history, it's usually in the guise of the US are the biggest winners on earth. Like, we're the good guys, we do no wrong. And I understand, yeah, a lot of countries also teach their country's history in that way as well. I'm not denying that. I guess it's just more so how we get to that part, It's like, it's like, why did the Holocaust exactly happen? I don't know about you, but I've had older Jewish people come and like speak at my elementary school and middle school who were in the Holocaust, and that they don't really tell you. Of course, like they're not going to tell you how the Holocaust began. Like they're recanting their story just to share like the horrors of it. And it's just like when we learn about the Holocaust and World War II in history, we don't really learn how fascism came to power. We briefly understand and learn about propaganda, but at the end of the day, these teachers have to teach y'all certain things for a test. and sometimes for a big standardized test, so they can't really go into depth or anything really, and they just really have to keep it moving because you're only in school for 180 days. So, and it's unfortunate. So, ideally, like if we were to want to like somehow change it and teach history in a different way, I really do think that there should just be a class about, like of course in like elementary school, middle school, high school, like elementary school, you're learning about like your state's history, and middle school you're probably learning a little bit more about like your country's history, but then like maybe high school you should learn about, like maybe ninth grade or maybe 11th grade or so, like learn about like fascism and like actually learn, about how that happens, how that can happen, how to recognize it, and actually have like in-depth conversations like with your teacher about it. I know that they were talking about banning books. Like I don't believe in banning books. Like I think reading, like if you were, I mean, I never read Mein Kampf, but I don't think it would be harmful if you're learning about fascism. You should learn, like there might be chapters and stuff you can read about in Mein Kampf, and look at the news articles from 1930s, 1940s. See how the Hail Hitler, was it seal? I don't know. The raise hand thing was initially a joke that became the real thing. And it's kind of wild how, especially in this day and age, especially over here in the US, we joke around a lot of things. We make jokes a lot. And we're like, no, it's not a big deal now. And then sometimes it becomes the real thing. Like, it's been, I remember 2015, when Trump was running, and Reddit started to be, and like I saw like the progression like of Reddit becoming just more and more toxic, where I couldn't really differentiate between trolls and people who literally believe like just this garbage, because the verbiage was so similar. And now, especially with Twitter, I can't really tell the difference between bots, trolls, and people who legitimately believe this garbage. Who are really typing and speaking their mind about just absolute, crapola, and just like I mean, that's just me personally. But yeah, I do feel as though like they don't teach you everything for certain reasons, partly for control. Yeah. There's other reasons where it's just teachers just don't have the time to, because they have to, they don't really have a class just like on fascism. They don't really have like a history class on, I don't know, like the history, like the feudal era of Japan, which is just very interesting, like just like cool parts and moments in history that's might be very tragic, might be very bloody, might be very traumatic, but also just interesting, and like real true history of just slavery, how certain businesses and practices, slavery, Jim Crow, that should just be like a class, honestly, so you could really fully understand it. But because there's just a lot to cover, and just learning about one or two people for a month, for a year isn't gonna cut it. But yeah.
So no, definitely like being able to have multiple classes or multiple ways of learning things for real, just outside of like the cram test period and all of that is super important. And there's a lot of good comments here too. I have to look up the thing about the KKK in the movie. What, and maybe this is obvious, but what is that referring to? Are we talking about like how we have like neo-Nazis and new things because of some like conspiracy type stuff from like the recent decades, or I'm not sure what that's exactly referring to.
Sorry, I'm just highlighting the comments I've missed.
Yeah, you're good. And yes, definitely, Gabby. That's really on point.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember something with the Trail of Tears. That was, definitely like a very comfortable thing to learn, but we learned it. And how Andrew Jackson like, forced, of course, Native Americans to go across, leave their land and go west. And so I remember reading something in like the history. I don't remember how I saw this, but it was some years ago. Um, Maybe within 3 years. But I remember seeing like was it history.com or Smithsonian? It was something about how like the Native Americans at the same time, and not justifying at all what the horror that happened to them, but they also owned slaves, like the same ones who literally like were being kicked out of their land, owned African American slaves, and in many cases were not treating them very well. And that was like I remember they even made a point where it's like this type of conflict or this type of like very complex relationship, something that you can't shy away from talking about, and you can of course still have complete empathy and just like condemn Andrew Jackson and his actions while also saying that what was going on here was not right either. And that can go for anyone, right? Like, I remember there was apparently some tensions between some Black Americans and some Jewish neighborhoods and communities. The way I read it was because a lot of Black Americans, were heavily Christian at the time, and Jews were seen as, I have to do more research about this to make sure this is accurate, but from what I remember, this was from like history class, and how like Jews, effectively are the ones who killed Jesus. And so I guess there was some animosity there. I didn't know that was a thing in general, that Jews were seen as sort of the Jesus killer. And that played a role in some of the animosity that was there. Not necessarily probably what was really going on for the cause of the Holocaust and all of that, but there were other groups who held on to faith who saw that. And sometimes in these, these kind of conversations or even just these like dynamics can be really weird and uncomfortable to talk about, but there's things just to like fully see. The last thing I'll say on it, and this is something I was kind of mentioning after last stream to Elle and Ron, I believe, or I'm trying to remember if it was to both, but I definitely remember Elle, like you had a comment about it where like African American history or Black history, should be taught in full. And there are classes, of course, that are taught in full. And oftentimes, you see you see these issues where people kind of say, "Oh, do you know that the Black people, Africans sold other Africans? Or why are you mad at the whites?" Or like you see something like, "Do you know that the first Black slave owner, the first slave owner was a Black person?" And I'm like, listen, take an African American history course. I did not, but even I know that these are things that are covered very well in an African American history course. You learn about very specifically, I'm sure, which tribes sold which tribes. You learn about tribes that also had their heads cut off by like the Europeans who decided that they were going to teach a lesson to people who didn't sell. And you learn about people who sold some of these tribes because they thought they were going to be there for a better life because the slavery was just very different that was practiced. You had a lot more rights with African slavery. And again, it's not like I'm pro-slavery, but it's just like the context is so different that they didn't really know what they were selling people to. So it's very complex and you learn all of it. I'm sure, yeah, there were Black slave owners and you get to learn about that. You get to learn about the Irish and the indentured servitude. But it's like people think they found something so like they're like, oh, I've debunked Blackness and Black history because
like boom.
It's like, good job. That's chapter 1 of African American history. So it's just like no, like when people learn these things, you're not gonna like there's nothing being hidden. You're learning more. I think this is something someone said, like you can't be like having more information. I think you said this, Ella. This is something I somehow recently from one of the last few streams, like knowing more things can't hurt you. Like having more information. I mean, it might be uncomfortable. You might kind of get hurt because your preconceived notions are like being rewritten, but like just knowing more things is always going to be a plus. And so when it comes to these different things in history, including some of these thorny things, like, yeah, let's talk about all this stuff. Let's talk about history. Let's talk about crime rates, talk about whatever, like let's go deep into it. But like you're kind of people are painting like a single narrative and trying to weave like their agenda into like if we were just this, whether it's conservative, Republican, I don't know, whatever else, then this is the thing. And the other side doesn't want to talk about this. It's like, I don't know, like people who really care about history and care about solving these problems do talk about all of it. Michael Harriot had a great thread about like black on black crime is talked about way more within black communities than anywhere else, especially in those places like barbershops and those community centers. And he was like, how many of y'all are actually in these centers? Like, you aren't. And, you know, of course he had to make it a humorous thread, but like, it was really, really eye-opening just how much people do care. And it just sucks that like oftentimes it's seen as, oh, they don't want to talk about this. And it's like, no, like people are talking about these things. And if people really were learning history properly and like really engaging with all these communities, it wouldn't be like this, like, oh, why don't they care about the crime? Oh, new Chicago mayor. Oh, and it's just like, yeah, people do care about these things. You're just not there in the rooms, and you're not learning the history that they're learning. So you're just ignorant on like 10 fronts.
Right. Like people, like they're talking about it, it's just y'all aren't listening.
Yeah.
Like that.
Martin Luther wrote a book called On the Jews and Their Lies. Whoa. Okay, I didn't know about that.
Oh man. So we're gonna circle. We about to circle back a lot because there's a lot that's been said that it needs to get dug up a little bit deeper. So I think Toby, I think you brought this up. How you mentioned, or was it you, El? It was one of you two guys. One of you guys said that the reason why there's people, especially like black people, people of color who are in the prison cells, is due to the fact that there was no father in a household. That's only part of it. And even then, in order for you to kind of get that, you have to go back, oh, I don't know, about 100 years. So about like the 1800s, if you would, to understand why it was done. So it was actually done on purpose, because when you think about black males, and especially those who would become fathers, they hold a lot of wisdom because a lot of their fathers, a lot of their grandfathers poured into them as far as what not to do and what it is that you need to do. You take that wisdom away, you have a generation coming up that's blind. Because again, women can't raise men. It's you can't. I don't care how you want to slice it. Women can't raise men. Yes, women can be nurturing, but it takes a man to raise a man, because only a man can understand a man's psyche. And even then, the same logic, that same logic goes to the same thing too as well. Men can't necessarily raise women because, again, you have to understand the psyche, the emotional aspects of a woman is very different from that of a man. So if you take, like I was saying before, if you take the man out the equation, you leave or you lose a lot of things that can help young men to become what they're supposed to be in American society. And again, when you look back in the 1800s, especially during those slavery times, it was common for a lot of the men to get sold off into slavery because of the fact that physically they were more appealing. They could outwork anybody on the field twice as hard, and even then, they were sold at the highest bidding. But at the same token, if the slave woman was able to give birth to children who will grow up and have those same qualities, she too will also get sold off as well, more than probably on the same playing field as her black male counterpart. So now it's like, okay, if I can get rid of that core nucleus of the black family and dissolve it, then the children, they're going to have to rely on somebody to teach them what it is to be black and what it is to be a black man, a black woman, even though they don't have anybody that looks like them to teach them that. And so, right out the gate, you already have this conditioning that's already been put in place, and you wonder why. Sometimes you kind of hear some black people call other black people Uncle Tom. It is not even for a good thing. It's more so derogatory in nature,
Mhm.
very much derogatory in nature. But then again, that's besides the point. Beside the point. And so when you look at that aspect, and especially you push it forward 100 years in the future, and again with the same concept of okay, black people were still not seen as equals, even still to this day, we're still not seen as equals. You can look across the board. It's like, well, we got voting rights. Like, yeah, true, but even still, then a lot of those voting rights can be very well be taken away by the same people who put it in there in the first place. Can very well be taken away, and even still, then when you look back in the 1800s, which I encourage anybody. I know Manny he put this out for us to do as well. Please, 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 please get the book called yeah, I get that. Totally. I highly suggest you guys go and get the book, read it, local library, bio, whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. Go and read And There Was Light by Joe Meakin. He brings out a lot, and a lot of it makes sense. And actually, it goes back to what you were saying too, L, was like, is there some things in history that is repeating itself that is playing out right now? Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, you think that what's happening in your state of Florida is new? No, that happened years ago. I mean, they were trying to on purpose exclude black people from even not even just voting. They excluded black people from not even filling offices because again, the white majority said, mind you, both North and South. We're not even going to just blame it on the South. Both the Northern whites and the Southern whites both said that black people cannot manage their own. Black people cannot hold office. Black people can't hold any kind of power nor influence. Even though, yes, we do see them as being protected under the Constitution. But as far as saying that they should hold the same rights as us white folks, no. They should hold office as us whites, no. That they should hold some kind of power or some kind of influence as us white folks, no. No. And again, it is still shown to this day. And oh, and There Was Light by Joe Meakin. And There Was Light by Joe Meakin. It brings out a lot and it makes a whole lot of sense. And again, it's not an easy read. I'll put it to you like this. It is not an easy read. It took me 2 months to actually read that book from cover to cover. I might have accumulated like a bunch of library fines, but that's okay. I'll pay that off whenever. But I'm telling you, like, just understanding from that aspect of back then, black folks weren't even looked upon as equals in American society. Then you look at what's happening now. Again, black folks aren't still looked as equals in American society, even though, yes, this country was basically built not just off the backs of black Americans. No, they were built off of the backs of poor whites. They were built off the backs of the Native Americans. They were built off the backs of anybody who was being different or inferior to white society. So you got that to deal with. Oh my goodness. And then somebody mentioned how like yeah, oh yeah. Oh yes.
Oh,
Agreed. 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 Because again, Abraham Lincoln, he was more so worried about saving the Union versus actually trying to do right by black folks. Even though, yes, I'm reading that book too, Chad. I'm reading that book too. That one, whew, oh my goodness. Even that one too, that's a tough read. I'm about to actually read that one next. I started on it. I actually started on that book back in 2020 during the pandemic. One of our good friends, I call my cousin, Yeshua, he mentioned that book. And he was like, you guys should read this book. It's very interesting, blah, blah, blah. I bought it on Amazon. Like, you know what? I'll buy it and I'll get into it. And already out the gate, there's a lot of very interesting stuff, a lot of eye-opening stuff that makes a lot of sense. So, what else was talked about? How the Jews. Oh my goodness. Which is funny because I think you said, or somebody said it like this: wasn't Jesus a Jew? Yes, he was. He was hated by
Yes.
his own people. He was hated by his own people due to the fact that he, oh yeah, oh yeah, he was hated by his own people due to the fact that he saw the flaw in what his people was doing. And so rather than actually having an actual relationship with the deity they call God, and again, that's going to be a whole nother topic to get into, which is the reason why the Jews, as of right now, still do not believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God. They don't. They will swear up and down like, nah. They'll give him credit for him being a good prophet. They'll give him credit for that. But as far as saying that he was the Son of God, they will swear up and down, nope. If you say, well, Jesus Christ was the Messiah, they will swear up and down, no, he wasn't. No, he wasn't, because what he taught went against the very fabric of their nature and of their being. And so for them to leave behind a lot of power, a lot of influence, a lot of social status, kind of sounds familiar in American society. I know, sit there and watch. For them to leave power and influence they've held for hundreds of years and to let it go, no, they're not going to do that. Especially they were making money by the power and the influence they had over the society, over the people that they were over. They're like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that at all. So what I'm saying, Jesus was basically messing up their money. If you want to get people mad, mess up their money. See what happens. Mess up with their money. And that's basically what happened in America. Abraham Lincoln said, I'm going to mess up but the Southern economy. I'm going to make it a way where if the black folks who want to serve in the military to save the Union, once they come, they will become free. They're no longer slaves. And because of the fact that they're going to be free, they're going to be basically property, meaning they belong to the United States government. We're going to protect them and their families and everything else. But again, this is the same person who also said that I still don't see black folks as equal to me. Mind you, President of the United States said this.
Hmm.
He's like, I still don't see black folks as my kin. I don't see black folks as someone I would to socialize with. And so once he realized the the folly of his thinking, where black folks were coming over to the north to fight because of the fact they're like, okay, we've been praying to God, we've been asking God to help us, we've been asking God to send someone to save us, and we find it in Abraham Lincoln. Okay, we're going to do whatever Abraham Lincoln says because we believe that he is the instrument that God is using. I mean, Frederick Douglass, for crying out loud, probably one of the most outspoken black person during that time, who harshly critiqued when Abraham Lincoln made a false step, but openly praised when he did something that was actually good and actually beneficial, openly. And so when he was like, hey, listen, Mr. President, listen, if you really want black folks to follow you, let me help you to get more black folks to join the army because you're losing men. And a lot of these white men think that black folks can't fight. No, you just got to give them a chance. Give them a chance, give them an opportunity to make a name for themselves, and they're going to pull through like no other. They're going to out train, outmaneuver, outgun, outshoot than their white counterparts. Even though, yes, during the time, General Ulysses S. Grant, who became president later on down the future, at first he said, no, I don't want no black folks in my army. Once he actually saw that black folks were actually outworking his current soldiers who were white, he was like, oh no, I want some of them in my army too. Like, I want some of them under my control because I can actually see what they're doing. They're fighting for a purpose. They're not just out here fighting just to be fighting. No, they're fighting for a purpose. And so that goes a long way, goes an extremely long way. So, saying all of that to say this, because of the fact, man, listen, don't get me started on that one because, whoo boy, that was a mess too. That was a mess too. But anyways, because of the fact that we have, as an American side, as an American society, as a country, we have still yet to not only acknowledge that the greatest sin, the greatest stain that has happened on American soil was done by the American people itself, hasn't been made atone. But not only that, but because of the fact that because of the fact that if the actual history of the 1800s was taught properly in the respect that both the North and the South had equal blame as far as the mistreatment of Black Americans during their time frame and how it still continues to this day, it will cause a lot of people to kind of reevaluate themselves and rethink a lot of the laws that have been passed, not only just on a state level, but also on a very federal level. But even still, then on a fundamental level as well, too, because it's like you can't say one thing, turn around and do another that goes contrary to what you just said. Like, you can't do that. And especially you can't do that when you got folks who like to do some research and who like to get the numbers and pull the data. Like, well, hold on now. This is the data that we pulled, and what you just said doesn't match up with the data we just pulled. So your apples ain't matching with my apples. Your oranges aren't matching up with my oranges. We're gonna need to talk this out, and we're gonna have to come respectfully or something because this ain't working. Kind of done with my rant, but you know. But no, it's there's a lot that goes on, and even still, then one of the biggest history books, well-known publisher. I think it's McGraw
McGraw
Hill.
Hill.
Mm.
Yep, McGraw Hill. They're based out of Texas.
True. Yeah.
They're based out of Texas. Okay. Because of the fact they're based out of Texas, and because of the fact we all know, or if we don't know, you know now, Texas is a part of that Southern Bible Belt.
Mhm.
Okay. They're going to um hold on, Rocky. I'm gonna answer that. I'm gonna answer that. Let me finish this thought. I'm gonna answer that because that was brought up too. Um, because of the fact McGrill Hall, McGrill,
McGraw Hill.
McGraw Hill. Thank you. McGraw Hill is based out of Texas, and Texas is a part of that Southern Bible Belt. A lot of the stuff that they're going to write is going to come from a place of white superiority with the uh, with their doctrine that has been passed on from generation from generation from generation from generation, and it's never changed. It has never changed, never changed. And so, because of the fact that they are basically the only big publisher for schools that teaches history, it's easy for them to whitewash everything and make it as though it never happened.
Mhm.
Never happened. You get a history book from today and you try to find one, let's say back in the 90s, you're going to see a very huge discrepancy. You're going to see, like, well, wait a minute, we learned about this here. How come you're not teaching it here? You know, you made a big push and a big emphasis to for us to study this here, but here it's not being shown. Why? They really don't have an answer other than, oh, because of the wokeness. Like, no, you're teaching the truth about what's happening, and then a lot of times the hard truth is a pill you really don't want to swallow because now it's going to force you to actually come out your pocketbook to actually correct a wrong that should have been corrected years ago. Shouldn't be corrected years ago. Going back to I think it was Rocky who put it. El, can you put Rocky's post up or quote up?
This one.
Let me see. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like that.
Okay. So Abraham Lincoln, he actually fought against this, and especially when it came to a lot of the southern whites who were pro-slavery, and even then you still had some of the northern whites who were pro-slavery too as well, undercover, mind you. He said it like this. He said, so you mean to tell me that based upon the color of our skin dictates who is inferior and who is superior, right? They're like, yeah. It's like, so by your logic, you mean to tell me that is someone with lighter skin than ours, does that make that person more superior to us? And will that make us inferior in their eyes? And by that same logic, could the fairer skinned person turn around and enslave us just as we did the black people? Crickets.
That
Crickets. Because the only thing that really separated black people and white people was the color of their skin. Even though you still had some black folks who had money just as much as his white counterpart, as her white counterpart, had education beyond what was being conducted here in America. Like black folks back then, they actually had a lot to compete with. But because of the fact that, excuse me, because of the color of their skin, they were oftentimes mistreated. Even though, yes, they may not have been, seen as equals, they were still downplayed a lot. Downplayed a lot. And again, it happens to this very day. It's never changed. It has never changed. So yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and because I know we're getting up there in time, but I know one thing I wanted to definitely look more into is the Frederick Douglass kind of advisory role to Lincoln, and because I mean he was someone who was very well respected. Like the Boston, they're like the African sort of history museum we had in Boston. There was an exhibit. This is back in 2018, so I guess they did the exhibits for like 3+ months, some months at a time, where there was a specific exhibit, and this one was on Frederick Douglass and how he was the most photographed man, not African American man, not freed slave, but just the most photographed man at all of the 19th century, which is just crazy. Because I mean, photography, of course, was very new. They had like the daguerreotypes or whatever. I would always see that in my U.S. history books, daguerreotype, where it was like not really a real photograph, but kind of gave enough of an impression. But then with real photographs, I guess. And Frederick Douglass, he had his, of course, iconic look and everything. And so it was very interesting, the kind of legacy he had. And there's so much about him I don't know as much, and I would definitely like to learn more. So that was one thing that stuck out to me. And there's quite a lot of other stuff. I'm gonna have to even go back and sort of replay this and kind of look at more of some of the the references and the things you were saying and just things to look into. But yeah, that whole revenge thing. Oh my gosh, there's a clip. It's so funny because we learned this. It was the AP language of all the classes. We were watching Michael Moore's one of his documentaries. No, it wasn't Fahrenheit. That one was about Bush. This one was it was Bowling for Columbine. I didn't really know anything about Michael Moore, really, but I guess, our teacher wanted us to kind of see some of his rhetorical devices and sort of what points was he getting across. So Bowling for Columbine, there is this great animated clip, which I must have been created for this. I don't think it was created outside of it, but it was a brief history of the United States. And it was this cartoon kind of, I mean, clearly it has an agenda to kind of show how the U.S. became super gun loving and all this other stuff. But it's a very entertaining cartoon clip of a history of the U.S. And one of the points was after the slaves were freed, white people were like, "Oh my God, we're gonna die! They're gonna come after us." But it was but the freed slaves, they took no revenge. They just wanted to enjoy freedom. And then they were like, Samuel Colt, he decided to invent this gun, which of course is the Colt 45 or whatever Colt. And then people started getting their guns, and then they got on the hats. It's a kind of a chaotic video. If you watch it, it is a lot going on. But it was a very, very entertaining video, very South Park-esque. I'm sure it was some of the same animating people, but it was basically South Park in a 5 to 10 minute video of the U.S. And yeah, so when you said the whole part of the reason why they don't want them to read or they don't want them to get more knowledge is because they could go ahead and do the same thing and subjugate us. Which I mean, of course, we never had the population. Black people never had the population exactly to do that. But it could happen in small pockets of the country if you really wanted to, where you have a lot of Black people, and of course, that's not happening. Very different story about people abroad. Like that's much more complicated when you look at countries like Liberia and you look at some other kind of, different people groups have kind of practiced some of the things that have been done to them. And that is like a fascinating but very unfortunate thing. But in the US, there was no real, sign of like black people once they became free, they, weren't going ahead and like extracting revenge on the whites. They just want to be left alone, really.
Right.
And so, it's definitely, but I feel like that philosophy was enough to cause whatever, like, the subjugation of just the largest amount, because they were afraid of what could happen if there was. I mean, of course, you had uprisings, but those were really like for freedom, the slave uprisings and rebellions. But for the most part, people, once they were free and they were like not in danger, they weren't being chased. I mean, if they were just free, they were just doing their thing. They looked for opportunities. Right. That's it. They wanted to work. Someone went to Canada, right? All the way to Canada if they wanted to find work. And so just let them be and go. Like,
right.
All this other stuff, very unnecessary, and just it kind of is like almost their own inferiority to like being so insecure that they're like, we're gonna have to make the slaves as quote unquote handicapped as possible. So a large amount of security there is what I would say.
Yeah. And even then, just to go on to your point too, Toby, because again, Joe Meakin, he brought this up towards the tail end, but even then, it also reminded me of what I've learned in my U.S. history class in college, where once the slaves were free and whatnot, what many of them did was they stayed at their place of residence, because they're like, okay, we worked on this land, we've tilled, we've done everything possible. Like, why in the world would we give everything that we worked so hard for and just pick up and move? And so, like, you know what, we're just going to stay where we're at. And so a lot of the white slave owners, they're like, man, okay, so we really can't do anything now, because the one people who we called slaves, they own part of the land that we basically have to give them, and they've been working on this land for years. They know this land, they've cultivated this land. They could turn around and, based off of the works of their labor, they can make as much money as they really want to and not care less about us and not even think about us, because again, they want to fend for themselves, which for the grand scheme of things during the time, but we'll say for like 3 million. So there was like 3 million black people living in America who are basically free. They could go wherever they wanted to go. They could do whatever they wanted to do and just be themselves, which for the most part, that was true. And so what ended up happening is you had these communities of black people who were just there just to be there, to help each other out, to help each other grow, to help each other learn, to flourish. And it was a beautiful thing, very beautiful. And because of the fact that they kept everything within their community, they're like, we're going to do this for us. We're going to have our own neighborhoods to thrive. We're going to have our own banks, our own grocery stores, just catered around black folks. Like, are we going to have others going to come who are not black? Sure, why not? They can spend their hard-earned money in our stores. Why not? But for the most part, it's for us. We built it for us. We own it and everything else. That's a scary thing, because again, like I was saying before, these very same white Americans who are saying that black folks can't manage their own, they can't be in control of authority. They can't have any kind of power, influence. They saw that happening and they saw it was going for a good cause. It scared them. Henceforth, the reason why the weaponization of the white folks, it became more prevalent because, like, oh, they're gonna come after us. Like, no. But then again, also you have the oh, what was that, the landmark law? Separation but equal.
Oh, the separate but
That
equal. Yeah. Plessy
separate
versus
but
Ferguson,
equal.
I think.
There we go. Plessy versus. I thought it was that one. I'm like, no. But yes, that landmark decision was like, okay, we can have everything can be separated, but it still has to kind of be in equal standing, meaning that if across the railroad tracks, if the white neighborhoods have a school and has an education and any kind of other resources needed for that white community to flourish on the other side of the railroad tracks, it should be the same thing for the black communities as well.
Mm.
And so, what these federal, state governments, agents, what they did was, yes, they made sure that, school buildings or access to schools were both provided in those communities, and that if there was transportation needed to get there, it was provided. If the resources that needed to hire, whatever the case may be, it was there. However, when it came to the actual overall quality of everything else, you look at the white neighborhoods, they had a higher quality than your black neighborhoods. But at the same time, a lot of the black neighborhoods are like, well, wait a minute, what's up? How come the school down the street, they have better textbooks, they have better classrooms, heck, they have a better school building with running water, for crying out loud. And what we got is literally like a little hut, looks like last year's textbooks, which is about to crumble, and we pretty much got the leftovers of what they had. Like, how is this equal by any means? Even though, yes, it's separate, but how is it still equal? Which is not. And so, again, they got black folks, what they do, they got mad. They started petitioning, started doing whatever to try to generate as much noise as possible to draw attention. And so it and again, it just opened up a can of worms. Let's just say that it opened up a huge can of worms. And so you look at what's happening now, same thing. Nothing has really changed over the past 100 years or so. Nothing has really changed. It's still basically the same. And it's sad to say, very much sad to say. So,
Mm.
yeah, it's just very sad to say that nothing much has changed. And even when we look at the history books and when we look at what's going on in American society, nothing has really changed. Nothing much. Even me and the missus, we talked about it. Nothing has really changed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to top that. I mean, it's quite a lot. Just like the way these discussions are, like there's just so much to get into, and like with this kind of history, and like you said, you have the discussion with your wife, and this is good, like to talk about these things, at home in your communities, whatever. Always trying to learn new things online.
Right.
Because it could definitely be a lot, and like like Gabby said, and other people, like those uncomfortable things, or just those like not always discussed in mainstream things are sometimes the most important to reinforce. So yeah, that's my like. I guess it's my little last thing.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I see your point. I see your point, Chad. And even then, you know, what and even then what's the bigger issue too is most people are afraid of change, whether it's good or bad. Most people are afraid of change. And I think El, you talked about this on one of your podcasts. I think you talked about this where they oh snaps. Hold on.
Hmm. Yeah. Honestly, with Ron going landscape, you think it would have just taken up the whole, his whole square, but it didn't.
Oh yeah, huh?
It's like, huh.
Just resolutions slash not just resolution, but displays. How do they work?
Mm.
I still never figure out, especially with the Instagram uploading pics. I'm like, ah, crap. And apparently, people crop and resize things. I'm like, this is like basic, but also not what I was planning on dealing with. And so I tap out.
Yeah,
This
the
part.
whole ratio, that dynamic ratio stuff, like that's one of the things I really don't like about Instagram too.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
my
just like,
mom keep, huh?
no, sorry. I was literally just like, do I need to like take pictures to be all squares or something, or just pad everything? No, but it was just me just venting frustration. But continue. Um,
Uh, yeah, my mom wants me to like share some pictures of myself, and I'm like, I just really hate Instagram's UI. Like the
mm,
whole, like what it's supposed to do, it just sucks really bad at it. Like it was good, then it just started to suck really bad with just posting images, and I'm like,
yeah,
why is this taking 20 steps?
yeah, that's very interesting the way you put that. Like what it's supposed to do, it's very not great at. And when the basic thing, like that action button or that thing that you want to do, is so difficult, it's like what? Like even like I mean, stories are much easier to post, but even then, sometimes I'm just like adding a new story is just like what? Like I know Instagram is popular and it is kind of factually much more powerful and more loaded with features than Snapchat, but no, like for me, it's just so much easier to just pull out my Snap and post. And I know that there's not as much reach on there. Like there is quite a bigger audience on Insta, and I could really probably post a lot more things. Whether it's, I mean, I do make it a point now, like to dual record, which is kind of hilarious. But I'll like use my work phone because I have IG on there. My actual personal phone was not playing very well with IG, so I would oftentimes dual record where like I'm posting video of something on my Instagram story. But if it was just on my main phone, it's just I don't know, it's annoying sometimes. I'm just like adding a new story when you already have something is not always that easy. You have to like go to what you already have, or you have to go to the main camera option and then slide over to story. And I'm just like, what? But I guess it's because Instagram, of course, posts are the first thing. And so because it's not clear what you want to do, and then of course you have Reels, which is own kind of menu. So then it's like I guess just harder to like immediately go to the one thing you want when it does so much. And I think Instagram is trying to bite off another feature. Oh no, I think they're trying to take some Twitter feature. They're trying to take some feature. Meta is trying to do some other feature, but I digress.
Mhm.
But anyways,
I'm back. And yeah, I know I probably missed a lot, but it's okay.
Not
It's all good.
yes.
But yeah, you were finishing up your point about change, and I mentioned something in one of my podcasts about change.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you in one of your previous podcasts, I want to say it was what was it? What was the title of that one? I can't remember the title of the episode, but somewhere in that episode you were talking about how resistance. There we go. You were talking
Oh,
about resistance, and you were talking about how a lot of times when people hit the resistance, it's either one, they're going to hit it and just quit and give up, or two, they're going to push beyond that resistance and do something better with themselves.
Mm.
As you can
mhm.
see here in America, a lot of people, they're hitting that resistance and they're not pushing through to break that barrier to begin the necessary change that is actually needed here in America. They're going to hit it and they're just like, you know what, this resistance is too much, it's too hard. I don't want to put in as much effort. I want to put in much effort. I don't want to put as much time, energy, so forth and so forth. So you know what? I'm just going to leave it alone and do my own thing. And whoever decides to pick it up and do something with it, fine by them. But as far as me as a person, as an individual, nope, not going to do it.
Mhm.
And I
Right.
find that what you said echoes what's happening in America. Because again,
For sure.
you look at what was it, 2020, 2021, especially with the George Floyd protests, with a lot of the protests that were going on with police brutality in various communities around the country. How much of those protests has actually caused change in those same communities they were protesting in? How much of a lot of the local, state, and even federal governments were like, you know what, we need to do something better because what we have been doing is not working. And even then, I think in one of our episodes we were talking about the black leaders
Mm.
who are supposed to be viewed as the quote unquote spokespersons for the black community. Is like they only show up when there's a crisis going on, but they're never around when there's actually something good. Like, why wait for a crisis
Mm.
to happen when you can avoid the crisis by being in the community already, by showing up already, by implementing the changes already, by at least getting everything started before it even happens? Why does it always seem like we're pretty much reactionary versus oh, what's the word? What's the word? Is it's on the tip of my tongue, it's on the forefront of my brain. I know what it is, but I can't get the word out. It's irritating right now.
Describe it.
Um it's the opposite. Proactive. There he goes. Rather than being proactive, we're always pretty much reactive, but we're reactive by sitting behind the 8 ball in the corner pocket. For those who play pool, that analogy kind of makes sense. It's like preemptive. I mean, preemptive is not necessarily preemptive. Proactive. I was looking for the word proactive, meaning doing everything before something happens. Have everything set in place before it happens. But a lot of times, these black leaders are only there to be pretty much a puppet, if you would. They're only there to be a puppet. I mean, even Malcolm X pointed that out, which is pretty much the reason why he got taken out in the first place. It was like, he was calling out people who are basically being controlled by somebody else, not necessarily working for the community that they're supposed to be serving in the first place. But that's a different story for a different time, for a different topic, because that's going to open up a whole other can of worms in its own right. But and again, what you were saying about resistance in a lot, and in one of your earlier or later episodes, it reminded me of what we were talking about tonight.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's true. I think about that as well, like a lot of the times, and I think about certain things that I'm just kind of you know like take being reluctant to, and like like kind of tiptoeing around. Like there's like a form to like put at least like the 15-week abortion ban back, and to like fill out that form, and I want to also like, but you have to like print it out and send. And I know it's like it's not that big of a deal. It's not like I don't know where printers exist. I guess it's just, as sad as that may sound, it's just like that extra step. Like if I can go somewhere where I could just fill it out, that would be good. But then I also want to tell other people to fill it out as well. So like, once again, yeah, that's resistance, and that's just me. As you said, like sitting behind the 8 ball.
Yeah,
That's just me. Like twiddling my thumbs, or just like putting it on the back burner, so to speak. And yeah, no, like overall, we really do have to just do the hard work. Like when they say easier said than done, I like to respond back saying, well, yeah, but it still needs to get done, right?
right. Right.
It's like, I don't know I don't know how else to phrase this. Like, it's like, yeah, it's hard. It still needs to get done.
Yeah.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. And y'all chat and everybody else, probably to those who are going to be watching this afterwards, if we could stay on longer to continue to talk about this, we could. But we have work in the morning, and we still need to get some rest, because it's about to be hitting midnight, and then wherever else you're at in the grand scheme of things in the whole wide world, like, yeah, you do need some rest. You do need some rest, but there's a lot. Yes, it is Wordle time.
Oh yeah, apparently. I tried some months ago. I was like, I created my Wordle thing or whatever. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I think I lost my streak after 2 days, so that's cool. I completely forgot that Wordle was a thing until now. So,
Mish, I got my heart up. Even though you can't see my heart, I got it up.
Yes, we love you, Mish. We love you all.
Yes.
bruh.
Like for real, you guys. Like, we appreciate you guys coming in, tuning in every Tuesday night. You
Mhm.
know, and even then, just popping up in the Discord. You know,
Yeah.
still that does mean a lot. And so
Yeah.
we thank you. We thank you. We thank you. We can't thank you enough, but we thank
Mm.
you anyways.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we especially, thank you for, sharing in the ideas and feedback channel. I know that
Yes.
I don't like we we may not respond to you immediately, but we are talking amongst ourselves about what you've posted. Like when I
Yes.
realized we didn't even respond to President Manny himself, I was like, oh, oh my God. Like we did it. I was like, ah, because we were really talking about who to invite, how do we get the attention of like a presidential candidate? Like we were talking about that for a while. And I think it's just one of those things where it's like, you talk about it and then we have to go on to other things because we all have, our lives and all that, unfortunately. But like, so we don't mean it if we take a long time to respond. It's not like we're ignoring you, like absolutely not. Like that's
Mm.
but yeah. So I did want to say that because we did
Yes.
talk about that like at length.
Yes. Oh man. Yes.
We were trying to figure that out for
I co-sign what Elle said. I will co-sign on that. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So we apologize, but like we thank you. Like just because may not get back to you immediately, it does not mean we did not see it. So like we apologize. We'll try to do better for
Mhm.
sure.
Yes.
always keep it coming in the chat. Whatever channel makes sense for ideas and feedback. If you have political discussions, I mean, wherever. I typically, I also sometimes got to go catch up a little bit, but there's always interesting things, and we appreciate the feedback that you do. Just or whatever, like whatever discussion that you want to start off, like it's very much appreciated. We're here for y'all, really. I
Mhm.
mean, y'all are the base of you are the base that we're catering and pandering to. No, but like you're the base. You make us want to keep coming back,
Yeah.
and because we do like each other, but we can only talk to each other for so much. We gotta have I mean, that's no
Yeah.
shade at all. It's like it's it's great.
Yeah, pretty much Rocky.
Pretty much.
We forgot to respond.
Yeah. For so long, we actually forgot to respond.
Yo, that's real life though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is so real life.
Listen.
I could never. I never.
Hilarious.
Allegedly,
Allegedly.
TMC does get distracted from time to time. Allegedly,
Mhm.
not saying or not coming from experience, but allegedly, TMC does get distracted.
Mhm. But we love y'all, and I assume you love us for it too.
Facts. Roche, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Listen, because not to say we have better things to do, but like Ron just got off work. I also tragically got back from my office like 15 minutes before the stream started, which is a whole different thing. And life is life, but we're here and you're here too. Like y'all could be doing
Yes.
whatever, and so we all recognize we're all
Mhm.
adults with lives, and yet we're here for each other, which is pretty amazing, actually.
Absolutely.
Actually, kind of amazing.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
Yes. Word today is allegedly.
Yeah. Hazard. Oh.
Oh yeah,
Now you gotta
Rocky,
do
you
it.
are speaking my language.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Rocky.
You are speaking my language, sir.
You always have thought, oh yeah, yeah. I appreciate that actually. It's a
Yeah.
little better.
Yes. With that said, we do have to, as we said it's easier said than done, and it's not easy to leave. It's not easy to sign up, but we got work. I have a doctor's appointment for my shoulder in the morning. So yeah, we gotta sign off. But as always, we love you all. We can't wait to see y'all next week with a new topic because it's a new month.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, you can always chat with us in the Discord.
Hmm.
That said, we love y'all. Peace out. Have a great night.
Great
Peace.
night, y'all. Pieces.
Allegedly, you are being distracted. Hey!
Hey.
Join the Discord. Join the Discord.
Join the Discord, please.
Yes, we actually sent the link before you signed up. Mama
Yes.
Tamago.
The link is
Please.
there. And it's in the, it's in our links.
Yes. All right. Good night, y'all.
Good night.
See you next week. Bye.